Hello, everybody. Welcome to International Ball Live webcast. Today, I have the great pleasure of hosting a roundtable discussion regards Canadian men's national team that is going to be playing in upcoming Americup games in Dominican Republic. Really grateful to have a good round table experts here. Greg Francis, former professional player, Canadian national team, coach and player, currently coaching at University of Ontario of the U Sports. Drew Ebanks, CEO and operator of On Point Basketball, who has had his platform for many years as promoting and branding Canadian basketball. And Ro Russell, who, again, another pillar to Canadian basketball, have coached over 500 Canadian players to NCAA Division I colleges, and just a number of professionals who most turned professionals, some playing in the NBA, owner and operator of the grassroots basketball, as well as the head coach of Crestwood Prep Academy. Coach Tom Johnson, also known as TJ Buckets, former Canadian men's national team player, played over a decade of professional basketball overseas earlier in the 90s, and has been coaching there for over 15, 20 years now in Europe, currently based in Belgium. Gentlemen, thanks for doing this. Hope all is safe and well for you and your families. How are you?
Good to see you, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Yep.
I'm going to, first and foremost, let's discuss the very first element that's upcoming for Canadian men's basketball that we're not often really talking about it, which is the Americup that's going to be hosted in Dominican Republic. Let's go with you, Greg. What do you hear, or what is your perspective regards to the importance of Americup games during this world pandemic, coronavirus? What's your perspective, and what's your perspective in terms of the importance for Canadian basketball, as well as the roster it needs to acquire to play the games?
For sure. I know it's obviously a crazy time for everybody. Yeah, I know it's a crazy time for everybody with the epidemic, but I love the idea of the Americup. The main thing is, and Tommy Johnson will be able to speak to this, like, we played national team for how many years, and I know I played 3 exhibition games my whole national team career. And now you have a chance to play games even when you're on, like, even the B team and you're just up and coming, and when you're on the main team, guys from the NBA, and all types of opportunities to sort of raise your game and raise your just even your content in your country. So I love the idea that they have these games, new guys get to be involved in it, and I love to see guys getting opportunities to put their name on the international stage like that.
Excellent. Drew, you have covered Canadian basketball as almost I can remember. You were there last, I think, the qualification games that was hosted in Durham, actually out of Greg Francis University of Ontario, where Canada beat Dominican Republic. What is your input and regards to the importance of these games?
Well, I think it's important. Yeah, I was there for that game, and Canada got it done in that one. It's very important, I think, even to grow the game, guys, to have games like this on Canadian soil, and to give, especially the guys that don't normally get opportunities, give them a chance to get up on the Canadian national team. And show their stuff. And, guys like Andrew Nicholson were in the game as well, and had one of the biggest dunks that I've seen in a long time. and just the enthusiasm, guys, the energy in the UOIT gym was incredible to see. I believe they had moved it to that bigger gym that earlier that day, so people were kind of confused on where they were going to go or had to go to play. But just having the game there, it was electric in there. The Dominican fans were right behind the media section, and they were very vocal, which was great. A lot of times we don't get to see how intense it is, and you guys who have played on the national team understand when you go to those countries, they're throwing pennies, they're throwing whatever they have on them, they're throwing it at the opposite team and the opponents. And so it was good to see that energy, and I think the Canadian fans in the building had to come back and bring their energy as well. But it was great. It was great to have it here. Great to be able to interview the guys after the game and connect. We also made some connections with the Dominican staff as well. So great always to have Canadians playing in front of Canadian fans.
Coach Rowe, man, you've been building Canadian basketball for a very long time in your own way, in terms of player development, in terms of placing guys into colleges to fulfill their potential. What is your take in terms of the importance of the Americup and what it can actually do for Canada?
Well, I think that the America Cup can do a lot for Canada, to be able to bring FIBA basketball to Canada, in a sense, in terms of, you hear about what's going on when they go away, and you hear when they go over to overseas to play, but to have it either live streamed, or sometimes if there's an exhibition game in Canada, or like with that Dominican Republic game and those kind of things. Now the fans and people can have a good sense of what it's really all about, what FIBA basketball really all is about, and how important it is for basketball globally, and for Canada, what we've been able to do over the decades, and hopefully what we're going to be able to do in Japan in the next year. And it's really good for guys that are maybe not NBA players, maybe aren't top players right now, but there's an opportunity for you to get a run. It's an opportunity for you to get, to play right now, based on what's going on with the NBA guys are getting ready for the training camp and for their season in December. And there's guys that finish university, finish playing for another professional team, and they may get called up, and get an opportunity to play, to help get things moving and get the team winning, and until such time as you bring the big guns out. So it's a really good thing to happen, and I'm excited to see what happens with it coming in the next few weeks.
Americup being hosted out of Dominican Republic end of the month. I think it's in a couple of weeks. November 28th, I believe, is the date. Canada has to put together a roster to be able to compete at Americup in Dominican Republic. What do you think some of the challenges that they may see in terms of participation in the tournament during the pandemic year, Greg?
They'll talk to a lot of people at Canada Basketball, and we're trying to be involved as much as we can be, but there's a lot of things that are unknown coming from the COVID and the epidemic and stuff like that. But the big challenge is you're trying to get guys to come from their teams from all over, and you can only have them, and you try to bring them down to Dominican. They're coming from Russia. They're coming from wherever, like Belgium, blah, 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 like England, everywhere. So you can't have them for too long. Their teams won't release them for very long. So to be able to try to get an opportunity to even just get the team to train together for a little bit before the competition so that they can show their best side, that becomes, I think, one of the bigger challenges for Canada Basketball, is getting guys released from their team long enough to build together a good team chemistry so that they can do well in the competitions.
Drew, your perspective in terms of the, how to put this roster together, availability of guys. I mean, you are right here in the media. I mean, you've been in a lot of ways the voice of Canadian basketball. What do you hear, and what's the best way to do this?
Yeah, as Greg said, it's very tricky right now because teams, they have their contracts for these guys. They're paying them quite a bit. Our Canadians are getting paid very good money because they're some of the best players in the world as far as playing on the international team. So, obviously, I think Canada basketball has to have a great relationship with all the players' teams and all the players' management, so that when it comes time to knock on that door and say, hey, we need Andrew Nicholson, to come over here all the way from China, for say 5-6 days. Are you cool with that? Guys like Phil Scrubb, guys like Keza, guys like Owen Klassen, Phil, Kyle, all these guys are very valuable. And it's that second tier guys, Aaron Best, you can go through, the rosters. Guys like these are very valuable. And the thing that's amazing is it shows the depth. Years ago, if you had these circumstances, and these are not easy to get these players over, it takes a lot for these teams to allow it. But there was times before when we didn't have the depth, guys, and our qualifications would suffer. Greg, that. Our qualifications would definitely suffer back in the day. I think now guys are so willing to be a part of Canada basketball. I think the mentality inside the organization has changed. Mind you, they're still struggling as far as financially. I think that has to be changed, especially from the corporate side here in Canada. It's an absolute travesty that the talent that guys like Coach Rowe are putting out and have been working on and working with for so long, and now some of them are in the NBA. And Canada basketball struggles, to get corporations to come on board. So I think that should be the focus, so that opportunities when they come around like this, Canada can make sure these guys are able to come over. But yeah, it's very tricky. The pandemic. As far as safety, I'm not sure how they're going to do that. Obviously, they're going to do some testing before the players, and they may have to have a few days bubble beforehand. But it's very tricky nowadays. But I think the players are willing to do it as long as the teams are willing to let the players come over. Then you kind of won that battle, and then you have to think about when you get there now to Dominican and have to play in a hostile environment at times. So. I mean, for me, I never played on the national team. I played 1 year at university ball at York, but I know that if I was ever able to put on that Canada on my chest, I don't think you'd be able to take that opportunity away from me if I had a chance to do it.
Yes, indeed. Coach Rowe, your take, please.
Well, I think that it's great for basketball globally to be able to play something, other than the NBA that just happened, a couple months ago. Everyone's just been training, getting ready, waiting to get a call to go back to the professional team or to the NBA or whatever. And for a lot of guys that, may not have a gig already, their first time out. Like, for instance, I got a call from the national team about one of my former players that just graduated from university, and he's trying to figure out where he's going to go, who's going to sign him, what agent to go with. And then here he gets a call from the national team to, be on that list of people that they may bring to the DR to qualify. And so it's great to, for guys that haven't done nothing in months, based on the pandemic and just what's going on in the world, to have a chance to be able to represent their country, like Drew said, put on that maple leaf on their back and be able to go somewhere and get it on. And it'll be tough because, a lot of guys might never have played with each other ever in their lifetime because they're either grew up in different generations or they were playing in different leagues all over the world and never had a chance to play with each other. Then they're not going to be able to practice that much. They just got to fly over to DR and get moving, get playing. A couple practices here and there, but nothing like a couple months of preparation. And so it'll be challenging, but guys have said before, Drew and Greg, our talent pool is so deep now that we have so much guys to choose from. Oh, you can't come? Okay, we'll get this guy. Oh, you guys can't come till after? Okay, in the meantime, we'll get these guys here. And so there's a wealth of talent up here that, we can, get it going. We could, win some games and qualify and move on with some really good talent that we have until, the guys in the NBA and so forth are, able to come and I'm able to, be available to play, to definitely qualify for the Olympics.
For those friends and family, followers, everybody that's just tuning in, we're having a roundtable discussion with my good friends, Greg Francis, role coach Ro Russell, Drew Ebanks of On Point Basketball. We had TJ Bucket, Coach Tom Johnson from Belgium also, but it seems that we've lost him due to internet problems. But moving on, look, we talk about, I think everybody here touch base on the element that, the importance of these games. And obviously a lot of the Canadians are connected with their, currently employed with the professional teams. And there's also a long process. If they're coming to Canada, they are to do a quarantine for 12 days. And then going to the Dominican Republic for preparations. They have to be quarantined there, I think, in the resort which they will play in Punta Cana. And then they'll have to report back to their teams, to their professional teams. And then yet, with, again, their own country's policy in terms of, coming back to their country of employment, have to be quarantined again. So it totally creates a very difficult working conditions. But nevertheless, question is, does Canada basketball look to the local talent that's available right here in Canada and use it as a platform to give opportunity for some of those guys that haven't, that are not signed professionally overseas, and look to, be able to use the platform to build a few of the younger emerging talents, perhaps such as, some of the local university guys, Greg Francis, some of the high-level preparatory guys like, at Crestwood Academy. Or so how would you do it as the general manager of Canada Basketball? How do you put a team together in this pandemic and yet put it in position to qualify again the games in Victoria that's going to be hosted to qualify for Olympics in Japan? Greg, we'll go with you.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to be really based on the. Sure, no, it's going to be based on the relationships that you have with the pro clubs in the world. Because at the end of the day, like, it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge internationally just to get the player. Like, we're playing these games in Dominican Republic. I'm hoping that they're a bit more lax to get people down there and blah, 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 play games. But when we have to have games back in Toronto, like, you can't fly in parts of the world for these games, right? If you're playing in England, you might not be able to come over here to play 2 quick games and go back home. So without relationships and being bought into the process of playing FIBA basketball, it's not going to work. But I think they've been working on these relationships for a while with Canada basketball. I know I have some, Drew, you have some, Ro, you have some relationships. But if those relationships are not airtight, it's going to be a real challenge to get guys to be able to even be released from the team to play games. Even if they let them last, I think there will be even more of a challenge to get guys to be released and leave their international country to come to ours, and for us to go down there. Like, it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be a huge challenge, obviously. I think, Tom, you're kind of exploring another avenue of when you mentioned Crestwood Prep and schools like that, of enlisting high schoolers. But I'm not sure, obviously the competition level, and then obviously there's a risk of obviously playing against men and things like that. But I think there are some guys, I think you were also mentioning, there are some guys who are possibly here that have not been signed yet and are still high level. I mean, we've seen some great runs this past summer, even at a place like the Playground, and a few other facilities that are burgeoning and blowing up here in Ontario. So many private facilities being born, and you see the guys taking advantage of it. So I think, instead of going, maybe to the high school prep route, you'd probably want to go to those guys who have been here. I remember guys like Alonzo Walker, he finished at Portland State, I believe it was. You even had players like Elijah Fisher getting runs up there as well. So, it was great to see a lot of the pro guys who were kind of, not doing much, and obviously wanted to get some runs in and get some reps doing that. So I think if you want to fill, your roster and to make it a little easier, those are some of the guys that you can easily connect to with the gyms that were running, those runs. And they're amazing to see, so much talent from high school all the way up to the pros. And it was fantastic. And I think that's where you can pull players from. What you said about the quarantining, I mean, I didn't realize. I thought it was a few days. But if it's extensive quarantining before you get there, then you play your games, and then you got to quarantine when you go back, obviously, because of the rules. I mean, it's a big commitment from, again, as we said, not only the players, but also, from the teams to allow this to happen. I think Rub is muted.
Yeah, I think Coach mute.
Yeah. Maybe Mike's muted, Coach.
All right, so like I was saying when I was muted, it's gonna be very challenging, but also we have to be very strategic because these are the cards we're dealt with. With the quarantining provisions and the restrictions that you got to do when you come to Canada, go back to certain countries, and being released or not being released by your team, and all those, your agents involved, and all that whole nine. It's part of global basketball. You just gotta roll up your sleeves and buckle down and have a committee and let's figure it out. Let's have a group of NBA guys. Let's have a group of EuroLeague and top European guys. Let's have a group of homegrown guys that are in the country that we can have access to. Let's let's bring or see what's going on with Elijah Fisher, because it's FIBA basketball, it's national team basketball, so there's no NCAA rules against him playing. Like I remember RJ Barrett played with the national team when he was in high school, and I think I'm pretty sure that Leo Routens played as well when he was 15 years old and so forth. So, let's be strategic and let's see who we all have and try to put, a competitive team together until such time as we can get everybody out there. So, it's one of those things where you just gotta, turn every corner and look under every rock and figure out how to best, represent Canada until such time as you can get the big guns out there.
Absolutely. I think my 2 cents, if you will, in addition to that, I think the importance of these games is, I think it's best suited to only in terms of positioning for the Victoria Games, which is qualification for Japan Games. But also as a player, I'd imagine if you have $1 million that you're making overseas in contract, does the player, or not just $1 million, any significant amount of money for any player that may be prospective to want to wear the flag and be there for Canada, but do you take the risk of catching COVID when you go to Dominican Republic? Is that, and then how will that force majeure clause, will that kick in terms of the country you play in terms of execution of the rest of your contract as the season goes on, professionally speaking? But I think Coach Rowe, I think you hit it right on the nail. This is FIBA basketball. This is a national team. It's unprecedented times. We're talking about a situation where, this may actually be able to be a platform for younger, emerging Canadian talent, high-level talent that can use the time to play and grow and show and prove that they can compete at this level, like the Elijah Fisher, I imagine, and others. Looking at the results of what happened before the exhibition games, national team traveled to Australia. We didn't have all the NBA players. The expectation is so very high in terms of, okay, now Canada has the highest number of international players under contract in the NBA. Will they be available for Americup? Perhaps it's important. It's not as as important to win these games. But again, that I think provides the platform for other players to be able to prove themselves. And then, but yet again, I think there's another conversation to have. I think moving on to how to use these games to grow the game, and then providing a platform for players to prove themselves, moving it to Victoria, because we are in terms of the next step is to qualify for the Olympics, which I think is the next roundtable discussion. But I'd love to know more about your perspectives as to, will the player take on the risk to come play for Canada and really push to achieve results for the in these tournaments such as America?
I think they will. Guys,
I know for me, it's not.
Go ahead, Greg.
Oh, no, I was only going to say that, it's not just about going to play ball. For a lot of these guys, especially if they're not NBA players, they're looking to build their brand in Canada. And I know I've talked to both Drew and Ro a lot about these players, and it's not just about playing the game. It's about building your brand. Maybe you want to start a business wherever you're playing in Canada or whatever, or wherever you're going to play. You want to get your name out as you develop talent, or you're a spokesperson or something like that. But you want to build it in Canada, because I know when you play overseas, it's really great when you're overseas, but then you come home and only the people that are real basketball heads would know you. This is an opportunity to become a household name without you having to make the NBA. And so I think a lot of guys will take the opportunity and come. But like I said, there's more than just the guys wanting to play ball. There's also the clubs allowing that. It's also the government allowing people to come in and play games in a short periods of time. But I think a lot of the players will want to do this because it's in their best interest to build their brand in Canada and be sort of a household name for playing basketball, especially when you don't make the NBA.
Yeah, and I think too, guys will take the chance. Obviously, the risk is there, with coronavirus, but I think if you take your steps, social distance, you hand sanitize, wash your hands regularly, wear your masks, of course, which is, such a political thing, especially down in the States. when it's proven in many countries that have gotten a hold of coronavirus that they do work. So I think to echo what Greg said, yeah, why not play for the national team if you're going to get that chance? You're going to be able to build your brand up, and it could open opportunities. Imagine if you end up playing in the Americup and go off and just have an incredible tournament. That's what you want. I mean, then you have guys who, especially if you're bringing on a couple guys that are maybe here still in Canada, haven't gotten contracts yet because it's been tighter this season, less players. I think that's an opportunity that you couldn't turn up if you're a player. And of course, you have to factor in the risk of, unfortunately, contracting it. But I think overall, if the teams are bubbling, they're following the guidelines, there's not spectators there, they're not able to, go out and do their own thing. I think the risks are very low. And again, these are high-level athletes. So for the most part, even if they do get it, for the most part, they normally would come out of it okay. So I think for even society in general, guys, we kind of, I don't know. I mean, I know the vaccine is close, apparently, or the vaccines, but there are people that are going to doubt the vaccines. You know what I mean? There are people that are going to be not looking to take the vaccines. So in a way, we have to live with this, and the risks are there. But we're going to have to still hopefully get these kids, especially the younger ones, we got to get them back on the court because mentally it's taking its toll.
Well, I know that if Elijah Fisher got an email saying that, you pack your bags, he'd be out. You know what I'm saying? He'd take a great advantage of the opportunity to be able to go play for his country and be able to play. Right now at Crestwood Prep, we've just been practicing and drilling and, just keeping ready. Some of the top tournaments that we in America that we got invited to, the Hoop Hall and City of Palms and Chick-fil-A, they just announced that they're canceling this year's event. So we've just been waiting. The OSBA is not, probably hasn't been playing and has been pushed back, and who knows what's going to happen. And so if an opportunity like this came, there's definitely top young guys, whether it be Elijah Fisher or Caleb Houston or someone like of that level that can play at that level would be definitely, happy and take that advantage of the opportunity. So, maybe that's what they got to look at, just be strategic and be unconventional and go outside the box, and with young, vibrant guys like that, like what Drew was saying, it's a risk that, if they do, get the virus, I think they'll be all right, in terms of immune systems and those kind of things. And now with the rapid tests slowly coming to the forefront, and when vaccines are out, I think it's something we got to live with, just like we've had to live with the flu. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. Like one of my guys, had some symptoms, and I told him to go get tested for COVID, and so he went to get tested, and waited a day, and then got back the results that he was negative, and then it's like, okay, yeah, that's great, you're negative from COVID, but you got symptoms, so you still got the flu, So it's like, you got to deal with it like we've been dealing with it. So the opportunity definitely outweighs the the risk, and I think that it's something that all guys that get the opportunity, other than a couple, will take advantage of.
Yeah.
Okay, just before we close, gentlemen, I'm just curious as to what's a reasonable goal to have in terms of November 28th, Americup games to be played in Dominican Republic, in Punta Cana, in Group C. What's a reasonable goal?
Cuba.
I think we can make a reasonable goal if, like Rose said, think outside the box. If we're just looking to get our top guys, it's going to be a lot of challenges, and not everybody's going to make it. Some will, some won't. But if we think outside the box and give our talent pool a better chance to involve some guys at the prep ages, some guys in the NBL, some guys in the CEBL, give them an opportunity, then I think we should be able to field a competitive team. But unless we're thinking outside the box, it's not going to be a great chance to get a huge turnout of the talent from places that are really far from here.
Should Canada win the group?
I think so. I think when you look at the teams that are there, obviously Dominican, they're always tough. But I think when you look at U.S. Virgin Islands and Cuba, Canada should definitely win that group. But again, there's challenges. On paper, yes, when you think of it, if we have our best talent for sure, that's a given. But right now, depending on who can sign up, I'm not sure if there's any names of being pulled out of the hat yet. But it's going to be a challenge, even with the best of what we can get. It's going to be a challenge. So, yeah, we'd love Canada to win, and if everybody was able to play, I think hands down, we would have that advantage. But to echo what Greg said, it's kind of a crapshoot going into those two games. First, against Cuba, then Virgin Islands.
Well, I feel that with
I agree that I think.
Go ahead, Greg.
Ro, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just saying that I feel
I was only going to say that
I think it's delayed.
Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah. Yeah, I was only going to say that, there's definitely going to be some challenges, but I agree with Drew that I think we'd be favored to be able to do well in that group, definitely win that group. But it's kind of a wait and see how things are going to be in terms of the turnout. But in terms of overall talent, I think we'll be in a good situation to compete against some of those countries.
Yes, Coach Ro, go ahead, and then I'll address this comment.
Yeah, so I was saying that from looking at the pool, other than Cuba, I think we should, take care of business, even with, a second tier, good group of guys. Our wealth of talent in Canada. I think that we could put a pretty good, roster together. Each series or each time sessions to be able to get out of that group and qualify and move on. I think that there's a really good pool for us to pick from of veteran guys that have played national team in the cadets or in junior national or even men's before or student games that they know the system. They played against or with each other at some point where the chemistry will be good and they know the system, and we got some really good veteran coaches now that can, coach them up. And I think it's a good goal that we should be a top 5 country in the world of basketball to be able to, qualify for, the America Cup and move on from there. Even if we have, I saw on the screen there, Bill Kratos was asking, other countries have struggles as well. And yes, they do have other struggles like we do. So they got to deal with it too, in terms of guys not being available and, guys can't get out of their contracts and all that stuff. So, we're in the same playing field as everybody else. So I think based on that, we'll be able to, advance and move on and be able to, buy some time for the NBA guys to come, because I've always said the day we have an all NBA roster, and nothing against the top Euro guys, whatever, but if we're saying to ourselves one of these days, just one time, we got to beat America. Well, as we know, America has all these NBA all-stars and some really, really good veteran players. For us to beat them, we got to duplicate that. I've seen that, in my days with AAU. I've seen that in my days with, elite high school. You got to match power for power, talent for talent. And so the day that we can have all NBA caliber team is the day that we'll have a chance of meddling in one of these championships, whether it be Olympics or World Championships, whatever. So I think that the horizon looks good. I think that there's opportunity for us to move ahead and take claim as a top 5 country in the world. And it starts here in the America Cup. So,
gentlemen, if you want to address Bill Crowder's comment there, go ahead. We'll have a little crossfire before we conclude our roundtable. Thank you for doing this.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
My friend Greg, are you there? I know you're on a little bit of delay.
Yeah, Bill was saying Dream Team Canada.
That was thanks for having me for sure, because it's always a lot of we're all older basketball heads. But if we put our heads together and so, like I said, build those relationships, we'll get some opportunities for more guys to put their name on the national stage for Canada, but the international stage of basketball. And that's what we're all about.
And what Bill was saying, Dream Team Canada, and what Coach Rowe was saying is amazing. I mean, imagine one day, and it's going to come very soon, when NBA guys are going to get cut, right? There's only a 12-team roster in international play. So there will come a time where NBA players are going to get cut. And to know where Canada has come from, guys, you all know that, to where we had one NBA player at one point, like guys like Sam Dalembert, who at one point was the only NBA player. And then unfortunately, something happened and he wasn't on the team. And you're just looking around and saying, like, why doesn't Canada have more talent? And now if you're starting to see, the Jamal Murrays, the Shai Gilgeous-Alexanders, obviously the vets, Corey, Tristan are still there, the Dwight Powells, and you go down the line and when I look at I look at the players, and I'm looking at my own deck here where I have the players that touched the NBA last year. I'll go down the list. I mentioned Corey and Tristan, and you look at Kelly Olynyk, of course, Andrew Wiggins, if he's back in the mix. I mentioned Dwight, Nick Stauskas, who Coach Rowe is familiar with, obviously. Trey Lyles is still there. We saw what Jamal Murray did in the playoffs, putting himself in the top 5 point guard category in the whole league. Dylan Brooks, a great wing. Kem Birch, a hard worker, a guy that will fit the international game. Chris Boucher, the length and the versatility. Naz Mitrou-Long, Naz is a guy who can light it up. Michael Mulder, the kid out of Windsor. I mean, I'm going down the list. RJ, of course. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, he's going to get his shot, soon, hopefully, with the Pelicans. Brandon Clark, a beast. I think Brandon is a guy who, when you look at what he can bring internationally, he's a guy who will sacrifice his game to do the right things. And then you have guys like Fiondu Kabengele, who's at the Clippers, and he's going to be a big time forward. We got Iggy Brazdeikis for the Knicks. You got Mariel Shayok for the Sixers. You got Kyle Alexander, son of the legendary Alexander family, O'Shea Brissett, Luguentz Dort. I mean, Canada right now, I wouldn't say an embarrassment of riches, but my goodness, it's where we've all helped, I think, to shine a light, and coaches like Greg and coaches like Coach Rowe and TJ, who's not on the stream anymore. All the culmination of all the efforts, guys, of everybody. I think we need to continue to preach unity in Canadian basketball. The ego's got to get thrown out the window. We need to make sure when they can, all of these players will come out to try out. Like I said, I named a lot of NBA players there. Not all of those guys can make the team. So it's just an embarrassment of riches, but it's absolutely been a lot of work being put behind the scenes. And I am so happy because the future, I think this team is going to be at some point top 10, top 5 in the world.
Yeah, well put, Drew. I think you literally took the words out of my mouth. That sparks a whole new conversation. I'm looking forward to inviting you guys back to cover this. I think the element that you just touched is Canadian national basketball team, the men's team, or has it yet fulfilled its potential? And what should the expectation be? I mean, we know what our past is, but we also should be aware of what the future potential can be. Coach O, I'll leave the remarks to you.
Well, like I said before, and like Drew just said, and Greg has reiterated the fact that, it's our time. It's our time for, what we've been doing in the high school level, both internationally and in America, whether it be high school or AAU or the cadet team, the junior national team, what we're doing, our top guys are doing at major universities in the NCAA tournament and, conference, performances. And now it's time for us to make our mark in the NBA, and, the run that Jamal Murray had this past NBA playoffs is an indication of what our potential is. More and more guys each year, as they get their feet wet and they get it together and figure it out. Because to me, when I was watching, like, for instance, Jamal Murray, it was like a light switch just turned on and said, okay, I get it now. Now I know what to do. Okay, now I know how to get it going. And more people are going to start to, do the same and follow suit, and they're doing that already. And so that's going to help the up-and-comers that are coming up to, to understand what it's all about as well. And I think it's a matter of time before, we take claim on, that Canadian game, that Dr. Naismith brought to, Springfield, Massachusetts, in terms of, hey, we can do it just as well as you guys. You got more guys than we do, but our top guys can match up with your top guys. And like Drew said, we're at a time now where we could have maybe 18, 20 NBA players that try out, guys that touch the league, playing in the G League, had stints in the NBA, and some guys get cut, now's that time where we'll have a full NBA roster, playing against other teams with multiple NBA roster teams, and bringing that athleticism, that's talent, that size, that experience. Now we have more guys that have been playing cadet, junior national, men's team, and they know the system, they know what happens, they know how to play. Because as Greg will tell you, it's a totally different game than either NCAA or just regular North American basketball. And I think that Canadians bring that dual ability in terms of the athleticism and the talent of North American basketball, and the IQ and the the motion offense and the stretch defense and the different international flavor that we should do pretty good. Like we should go to the Olympics and medal. Like that's what we expect, because we're doing it in other levels. Now it's time to do it at the senior men's level.
Well put there, Coach O. For the viewers that just tuned in, we're here with Greg Francis, Coach Ro Russell, Drew Ebanks. We had a very good roundtable discussion talking about Canadian men's national team in the upcoming Americup games in Dominican Republic. And we touched a number of elements in our conversations today, goals and expectations, current scenario, the pandemic, and and how it could actually be put in position altogether for the qualification games to go for Japan 2021 Olympics. So, gentlemen, I'd love to invite you back for another roundtable because there's more to discuss here. We can't take it all on one day. Again, this sparks a whole another conversation because Really enjoyed this one. For Greg Francis, Coach Greg Francis, as head men's basketball coach at the University of Ontario. For viewers or international student athletes that are looking at maybe aspiring to go to university in Canada, you can contact Coach Greg Francis. Coach Ro Russell, one of the most experienced Canadian coaches, who has a proven track record in developing players, making the transition from not only in high school to college, but the NBA. Runs preparatory academy at Crestwood. He's also available. You can reach out to him through the social media. Drew Ebanks, owner and operator of On Point Basketball, my good friend, who has been covering Canadian basketball, I think probably a little over 2 decades, continues doing his fantastic work and contribution to Canadian basketball by way of his journalism and beautiful work that he does. Gentlemen, thank you so much for doing this. Looking forward to inviting you back for so much more.
Thanks for having us. Great show.
All right,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right.